group, they are the Jewish. Talk about the Moroccan Jews that they used to live over here in Morocco for more than 2,000 years. And basically, here in Morocco, we have two sections of the Jewish. We talk about the Moroccan Jewish and the second section of the Jews that they came from Spain, back to 1492, the end of the 15th century. Then we talk about the third group of the people who live over in Morocco. They are the Arabs. Because Morocco hosts different Arab tribes. We talk about Bani Ma'aqil tribes. They are origins from the Middle East, exactly from Saudi Arabia. Then we talk about Bani Salim tribes. They are origins from Kuwait. Then Bani Hilal tribes. They are origins from Yemen. Then we talk about the Black Moroccans. The Black Moroccans are the Sub-Saharan Africans. But the most of them, they are origins from Sudan. Because Morocco, it used to be a trading post of the caravanserai. Back to the medieval centuries, that the most of the merchants or the traders, they went deep to Africa. They traded in salt because we had a lot of salt factory. They traded salt with ivory, silver, and slaves. The former slaves they live right now in Morocco. We call them the Tuareg or the Black Moroccans.
So those are the Tuaregs.
The Tuaregs, yeah. That's most of them. They are also from Sudan, and some of them from Guinea, some from Mali, some from Niger, etc. This is in general about the Moroccan population, which means Morocco is ethnically diverse countries.
And who own those slaves? Are those the Jewish who were in Morocco plus the Arabs from which came from the Arab tribes from Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, from the Middle East.
Middle East, yeah?
Yes.
So those people own these slaves, correct?
Yes,
they
exactly.
These slaves.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we talk about the Moroccan history. Starts exactly from the 8th century until the present day, which means we have more than 1,200 years, about 12 centuries. During that times, we have different empire or different dynasties.
Yes.
We talk about the first empire in Morocco is the Arab Empire. As I told you, even if the majority of the Moroccan society, or even if the indigenous people of Morocco, they are Berber, but the first official language here in Morocco, or the basic language, is the Arabic Classic. Why? Because the first dynasty in Morocco, the first empire, it was Arab Empire. We call them the Arab Idrisid Empire. They are origins from the Middle East. They are descended from the Prophet Muhammad and his daughter Fatima. And they came over here to Morocco exactly in the 7th century. And by the way, the Islam conquered Morocco exactly in the end of the 7th century. And the first man who introduced the Islam over here to Morocco, his name is Uqba ibn Nafi'. Uqba ibn Nafi' is originated from Saudi Arabia, from the Middle East. Yeah. He brought the Islam to Morocco exactly in 682, the end of the 7th century. And that's time that the Arabs came over here to the north of Africa and Morocco. So we talk about the first empire, they are Arabs. We call them the Arab Idrisid Empire. They are originated from the Middle East, from Saudi Arabia, and they used to live in the Middle Atlas Mountains. Then they established a small town, a small village, we call it Moulay Idris, by the first leadership of the Idrisid Empire. His name Moulay Idris first. Then his son, Moulay Idris II, he built first city in the 8th century. In 789, the end of the 8th century. That's why Fes is the more important imperial city in Morocco. Basically, in Morocco we have 4 imperial cities. When we say imperial, which means capital or former capital. For example, Fes, it used to be capital Morocco in the 8th century, the 9th, the 10th, 13th, 14th, and the beginning of the 22nd century. Is the first capital over here in Morocco, and the first empire in the country, the Arab Idrisid dynasty, and that's why the Arabic language is the basic or the first official language over here in Morocco. This will talk about the first empire, then we'll talk about the second empire, or we'll talk about the second important imperial city in Morocco is Marrakesh. We'll talk about the golden age of Marrakesh starts exactly in the 11th century, which means Marrakesh, it used to be a capital of Morocco under 3 empires or under 3 dynasties. We talk about the Berber Almoravid Empire in the 11th century, and then under the Berber Almowahid Empire in the 12th century, and under the Arab Saadians Empire in the 16th century. Then we talk about the Morocco is Meknes. Meknes is a city located exactly in the center of the country, nearby the Middle Atlas Mountains. Meknes, it used to be capital Morocco from the beginning of the 17th century until the end of the 19th century. And the last imperial city in Morocco is Rabat, the current capital of Morocco. Became capital Morocco from 1912 until the present day, and now. 1912 is the year we have French over here in Morocco. When we have French in the beginning of the 20th century, they removed the capital from Fez to Rabat. This is the four imperial cities. Talk about Fez, then talk about Marrakesh. And Marrakesh is established by the second empire in Morocco. The first is Arab Empire, the second is the Berber Empire. We call them the Berber Almoravid dynasty or the Berber Almoravid Empire. They are local people from the south of Morocco. They are originated exactly from Shangit State. Shangit State is the old name of Mauritania. We call it right now Mauritania because Mauritania, it used to be part of Morocco. Yes. We talk about the borders of Morocco in the 11th century, starts from the south of Spain until the river of Senegal, which means Morocco is a country nation. That's why I said empire. Right now, we say the kingdom of Morocco, and we say the king Mohammed VI, the current king. But in the past, we say empire, and we say sultan. Sultan is leadership. Sultan is empire rulers. He rules more than one country, different countries. As I told, the border from south of Spain. That's why we have the Arab Spains in the south, like in Malaga, Granada, Sevilla, etc., until the river of Senegal. So Marrakesh was built by the second empire in Morocco. They are Berbers from the south, from Mauritania, and they came from one of the famous Berber tribes. We call them Sanhaja tribes. In the beginning of the 11th century, they moved from the south to the High Atlas Mountains. In the High Atlas Mountains, nearby Marrakesh, only 55 kilometers. And they used to stay in the High Atlas Mountains, and they are Berbers, and the most of the population, they live in the mountains, they are Berbers, so they start to have a fight. They have a big fight against the Arabs. Because the Arab empire, they used to live in the north, from the Middle Atlas Mountains to the north of Morocco. And the Berber, they used to live in the south, from the High Atlas Mountains to south of Morocco. Then they have a fight against the Arabs. When they kick them out, they established the city exactly in the 11th century. In 1062, Fez in 789, the end of the 8th century, and Marrakesh in the middle of the 11th century, 1062, by the founder of the city. His name is Yusuf ibn Cheshafin. He's the founder. And the name of Marrakesh, it came from the Berber term, or the Berber word. We call it Amur Nakush. Right now we say the Marrakesh, or in Arabic classic we say the Marrakesh, but the first name we call it Amur Nakush, which means land of God in the Berber language. Amur means a land in the Berber language, Akush means a god. That's the meaning of the city of Marrakesh, Amur Nakush. And we call it the Red City because it's painted with the red color. The red, it sounds to be the culture heart here in Morocco, because we hear a lot of sightseeing from each empire, because we have, for example, talk about the Jewish quarters or the Jewish community, talk about the Bahia Palace, one of the more important sites in the city of Marrakesh back to the 19th century. Talk about the Madrasa, the oldest universities, kind of Quranic school, back to the 16th century. We talk about the Qutubiyya Mosque, which was built in the 12th century, and the Berber Almohad Empire, and we talk about the main squares. That's why Marrakesh is the cultural heart over here in Morocco. And the Red City, because it's painted with the red color, is terracotta color or mud brick. Yes. Because the temperatures over here in Marrakesh, talk about July and August, sometimes is more than 45 degrees. It's like natural air condition. And we call Marrakesh as well the capital of palm trees, because we have more than 170,000 palm groves around the new towns, which means we have a lot of green heritage over here around the city. Because one of the reasons why the Berber Almoravid Empire chose the land of Marrakesh, because it's located exactly at the foothill of the mountains. And in the high Atlas Mountains, it reached an elevation of 4,168 meters above the sea, which means snow the most of the years. And back in the 11th century, the founder Yusuf ibn Tashafin, he used a hydraulic system of irrigation. We call it in Arabic language al-khottarat, which means underground irrigation channels. And of course, there is a gravity from the high Atlas Mountains. That's why we have a lot of great heritage.
Around what year was that built, the irrigation system?
Yes.
Approximately.
Sorry?
Around what year was
Back to 11th century. 11th century, exactly. 11th century. Now we have modern systems. We have dams in each province. Yeah. And we call Marrakesh as well the Pearl of the South, because Marrakesh is the gateway to the high Atlas Mountains and the gateway to the Sahara Deserts and the gateway to Africa. That's why Marrakesh, it used to be one of the more important trading posts of the caravanserais. And Marrakesh, like the other imperial cities like Fes or Mecca or Rabat, is divided for two sections. Talk about the first section is the Medina, which means the old town or the old city, to spell it exactly in the middle of the 11th century. And we have the historical wall, the ramparts surround the city, to spell it in the end of the 11th century as a defensive wall against attacks, and the innovation came from outside. And the wall is about 19 kilometers round and 19 gates, which means in each kilometer there is one entrance, one gate. And we have the new town of Marrakesh, or the modern city of Marrakesh. It's Gilis, we call it Gilis. It's come from the French term, from Église, which means church. It was built by French exactly in the beginning of the 20th century, exactly in 1913, because Morocco was colonized by French from 1912 until 18 November 1956. That's why French language is the third official language over here in Morocco, after the Arabic classic and the Berber. To have three official languages: Arabic classic, Berber, and French. And of course, we have the Moroccan language, is the Ad-Darija, is a dialect, that the way of communication of Moroccan
mix of the three languages.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So as I told you, we talk about the Moroccan history from the 8th century until the present day, which means we have different dynasties. Just to remind you, we start with the first empire, they are the Arabs, Arab East Empire, they ruled the country in the 8th, the 9th, the 10th century. Then we have the Berber Almoravid Empire in the 11th century, and they made Marrakesh as a capital of Morocco. Then we talk about the Berber Almowahid Empire that came later in the 12th century, and they made Marrakesh as a capital of Morocco. After that, we have the Berber Merindis Empire during the 13th and the 14th century, and they removed the capital from Marrakesh to Fes. Then we have the Berber Wattasid dynasty, short time in the beginning of the 15th century. Then we have the Arab Saadian Empire. The Arabs, they are originated from the Middle East, but they used to live in the Sahara Desert. That's they ruled the country from the end of the 15th century until the beginning of the 17th century. And the last empire over here in Morocco is the Alawite Empire, the Khans dynasty, the Alawites, that they came over to Morocco from the beginning of the 17th century until the present day. Which means the current king of Morocco right now, Mohammed VI, is number 23rd of the Alawite generation. Number 23, because we never have a queen in Morocco. We have from father to son, father to son. He's number 23rd of the Alawite generation. And the next king of Morocco, he will be his son, Hassan II. He's about 21 years further ago. Now the political systems over here in Morocco, and that's the different empires in my country. So this is the first stop for us. This is the Jewish quarter, the Mallah. By the way, as I told you, we have two sections of the Jewish, the Moroccan Jewish. They used to live over here for more than 2,000 years. And we have the second section of the Jews that they come from Spain. By the way, we talk about the Jewish community over here in Marrakesh. They used to live in the center of the Medina. There is a famous quarter called the Moussi quarter, which was the first quarter of the Jewish community. But in the 16th century, when we had the Arab Saadian Empire, it was one of the famous sultans of Saadian Empire, his name Abdullah Al-Ghali. He removed them from the center of the Medina to the south side. Let's talk about the Jewish quarter over here in Marrakesh. Is the biggest, or the massive, or the huge Jewish quarter over here in Morocco. We'll talk about the Jewish community used to live in Marrakesh back to the 18th century we have more than 300,000 of them who live in the city. But the most of them, they moved to Israel in between 1960 to 1967. But we still have 2,000 of them, they still represent the Jewish community.
Wine tour, food tour?
No. There's about 50 of them, they still live in Marrakesh, they live in the new town. There's about 700, they still live in Casablanca. And there's about 600, they live in Fes. And few of them in Essaouira, is city located in the coast, in the oceans, and few of them of Morocco. And right now in Israel, there's about 9 million of the Jewish community. 9 million. 10% of them, they are Moroccan Jewish. There's about 900,000 of them are Moroccan Jews. And they came often to visit the country. Yeah, some of them come twice every year, in October, in April, etc. So, in the front, this is a part of the Jewish walls back to the 16th century. This is why the reason why the Arab Saudis Empire will give to be a part of the Jewish community. That's this kind of protection. The Jewish that's used to live near the palace or Czechia. This is Blacksmith Square. And we call the Jewish quarter in Arabic language Al-Mallah. In Arabic language. Highest means a quarter. Mallah is come from the Arab term for milk, which means salt. Because the mosques are the Jewish community used to live in Morocco, they trade in salt. So that's where it has come from, milk to the salt. So now, go for the hill.
That was a good history.
This old English quarter that started
I'm paying attention. I am.
It's kind of cactus flowers, you see. Clover or cactus flowers.
I love that there are cats everywhere.
Yeah, there is cats everywhere. Yeah.